Hi everybody, this is Dave Dugdale, learningdslrvideo.com. And before I start the review, I want to tell you about this DIY slider I had made last summer, I believe. I don't use it that much, and I don't use it for two reasons. And I thought it was going to be answered to all my slider needs. I thought I was going to be able to put this on a board or something and mount the board wherever I wanted to, and then mount my camera on top of it and get some nice slider shots. Well, it doesn't work very well. And there's two reasons. Ease of setup, and the other one is smooth surfaces. This is not easy to set up. I mean, if you get a long board and stuff like that, it just doesn't work well for quickly setting up different shots. And the other reason is you need a really smooth surface for this thing. I mean, like glass or Formica. And the reason I tell you that is because the Kenova slider is really easy to set up in a lot of different configurations, and the speed of setup is really, really fast. Over the past couple of years, there's been a lot of DSLR sliders that have come out. There's two types. There's the friction-based and the roller-bearing sliders. The friction-based sliders are somewhat inexpensive. Not really. They can range in price, but they're around, I don't know, $300 or so. But then there's the more expensive roller-bearing sliders that are in like the $1,000 range or even higher. That's where the Konova slider kind of comes in. That's much different. It sits around the same price as some of the friction-based sliders. It's around $300. Now, to be fair, this particular slider does not have a hand crank that you can use or a motor attachment for other things like time-lapse. Now, I haven't tried a friction-based slider, but I understand that they're lighter and they're cheaper and they're quieter. But as you add more weight to the friction-based slider, you increase the drag. However, with a roller bearing slider, you can add a ton of weight to the thing and it's still going to roll just as easily if it has no weight on it. Now, the build quality on this thing is really quite nice. It's really quite rugged. It's a little on the heavy side, I will say that. And the rails are mounted on the inside. So if you were to ding them, which you wouldn't want to do, because as soon as you created an indentation or something on the actual place where it rolls, it's not going to roll as nice. So that it's protected. And the way it's painted and the coating that it has on it looks like the finish will last a really good long time. Now, the slider comes with a tool to increase the drag on 2 of the 4 wheels. Now, I tried for about 10 minutes and I could not figure out how to increase the drag correctly. Basically, the way it comes from the factory, all 4 wheels are loose. And this is the way I've used it, and it seems to work really well. Now, the trick that I've found out putting many miles on this particular slider is to actually just create your own drag with your finger along the side of the rail as you move it, and it'll create a nice, even, smooth ride along the rails. Now, one of the things I ran into when I used it outside a lot was the wind blows, things get inside the track, and this thing can get stopped basically with one little tiny blade of grass, which has happened to me. And also, if the wind blows and there's a whole bunch of dust that blows inside the track, and there's the oil that's in there that sticks to the dirt, can get a very gritty kind of movement. Now, to be fair, I think all sliders probably have this issue, especially if they're being lubricated. But you use those side wipes on the side to move the grease around and clean out the debris, and that usually works pretty well. I found that you probably, after putting a lot of miles on it, you should take it apart and clean it like I have. That really helps clean it and then re-lubricate it. The brake on the unit is very sturdy, and I've definitely put a lot of trust in it. It works quite well. So overall, this slider works really well, and if you haven't seen it, go check out my montage video that I did of this. Out in the field, I'd usually go 3 passes, and I'd actually do make sure I got it right, and I'll actually shoot at 60 frames per second so I could slow it down in post and make it even smoother. One of the tips I will tell you that when you look on the screen, or you're hand holding the camera and you're looking on the camera screen to make sure there's any bumps, it's really hard to tell. So that's why I usually do 2 or 3 passes to make sure I got it right. This thing works awesome with like a Tokina 11-16 wide angle lens, works just amazing. If you put something in the foreground, it really, really helps. Some point of reference that gives you that sense of movement. If you don't have anything there and the thing that you're sliding is very distant, the slider move is not going to be very dramatic at all. It might feel like you're on a tripod. You might not even notice it. Also, if you use a telephoto lens, if you're really zooming in on something, like I tried it at 135 on my lens and a very distant subject, and it's really, really hard to keep it super, super smooth. You have to be, I mean, just as smooth as you can be because you're zooming in. So any tiny, small fraction of a thing that might bump it, you're going to definitely see it with a telephoto. Now, I used a joystick. Joystick is great for doing multiple shots quickly. If it gets it level and in the right position exactly where you want. But in ways I don't really recommend it too, because it raises the center of gravity. And when you go up higher, again, any type of little tiny movement, you're going to notice that. But again, if you're doing it multiple passes, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times, especially if you know going in that it's going to be hard, you'll probably get the shot even with the slider. So I found using the joystick was actually pretty good. I just did it more times and it would decrease the setup time on the next shot. Now, if you're not just using it on the ground or mounting on apple boxes, you can put it on a tripod. And when you move back and forth, you're going to get some flex. The unit is going to flex down a little bit, especially if you have a heavier camera. Now you can correct this obviously by using an additional tripod or a light stand, and Kenova gives you a way to put in a lot of different mounting methods on either end, in the middle, on the sides. You can mount it vertically. So there's a lot of different flexibility that makes this slider very unique and gives it a really great look. The bag is of really high quality. The zippers and everything looks like it's going to last a really long time. So I also did a time lapse on this where I was like a human motor, where I was just moving it like 1/8 of an inch. And perhaps when I get a chance, I'll do a video on how I did that. So overall, I'd say this is a really great slider for the price. I mean, for amateurs like ourselves that have been waiting for something like this that's not in the $1,000 price range, this is very affordable and can give you awesome, very professional look to it. Definitely check it out, and that's about all I got. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.